Good morning and welcome to Real Women, Real Issues. Today I have Scott Lewis, who's formerly of Fox 2 News and ABC Channel 7. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. Thank you. Now you're in the PI business. And I want to ask the first question. How did you get into that?
Well, what happened is I always liked the investigating a lot more than I liked the TV side of the business. TV can get to be kind of a grind. Right. And I just had been in broadcasting since I was 16 years old, and I decided it would be fun to go out on my own and do my own thing. And it's really the same skill set. I'm doing the same thing as a PI that I did as a TV investigative reporter. Instead of the viewers getting the story at the end of the day, I give a report to the client.
Now, what is your client? What's your typical client that'll come and see?
There's no such thing as a typical client. This has been so interesting. I never thought I'd find something more interesting than the news business. This is it. Every day, it's a different phone call for a different thing. Somebody's trying to find someone. Someone wants a background check. A lawyer calls. They want surveillance on somebody. Sometimes it's the cheating spouse. And I've worked for TV networks trying to locate people to interview them. Every day, it's something new and fresh, and it's a challenge. And I kind of like to overcome the obstacles to get to the information. It's the thrill of the hunt that I really like.
So it's a 24-hour job?
Not really. It's pretty basic hours. I usually work like 8 to 5:30 or 6 o'clock, but there are times when I have to work at night and on the weekends.
So say, I come to you. I'm married.
Right.
I suspect my spouse is cheating on me.
Right.
I come to you, I give you what? His name, where he works. What else?
What we tell you is give us as much information as you have, because you know this person really well. We don't know them. So we'll ask you, what makes you think that they're cheating on you? What's the pattern that's making you suspicious? When do you think this is happening? Do you have any idea where it's happening? And then we ask you to give us a starting point for surveillance. You might say, well, he goes bowling on Wednesday night. He's been coming home late. I think that's when it's happening. So what time does he leave for bowling? We'll pick him up on the house. At the house, we'll do as many hours of surveillance as you want, and we'll follow him. We'll document every move with video, time and date stamped. And if they go into a public place together, if he meets up with a woman and they go into a public place, we can follow him and get undercover video as well. So wherever they go, you'll know it. And they go into a private place like a motel, of course, we can't go in, but everything they do will be documented.
Is this expensive to get done?
It is expensive, yeah. Yes. Surveillance is $90 an hour for us, and there's some administrative costs. But what we try to do is keep the cost low by talking to the client and getting as much information as possible. So if we have that and we target it effectively, very often we can get the evidence we need in one-day surveillance. Not always, but sometimes.
So one day is typically enough time to get the information you need to take back to your client?
It depends, because somebody can be having an affair and the spouse can think that it's happening on a Thursday night. And we go out on a Thursday night and he's going to be out playing cards with the boys. And he goes and plays cards with the boys and drives straight home, and they've done the surveillance. So we can't guarantee, we can't make someone be unfaithful.
Right.
But if we're with them on the day they do it, we can be pretty assured that we're going to catch them at it.
So after you find somebody, they are cheating, you have the information, is it difficult to give back to the person the information you found?
It really is, because this is a very sad and emotional situation. People sometimes joke about, cheating, and there's shows about it, but it's a very difficult situation. It's traumatic, and so it is hard to tell the client if we do indeed catch them cheating. And I've seen cases where women have been so traumatized by a cheating spouse that they've actually suffered post-traumatic stress syndrome years down the road. Because this is the person you trust the most in your life.
Exactly.
And then you find out they're betraying you in the worst way with intimacy with another person. It's a very difficult thing. So, but what I say, the hardest part is not knowing. If you suspect it and you don't know it, then you're in limbo. You don't know what to do. If we can give you the evidence, now it empowers you. You can decide, I'm going to go I'm going to confront them, I'm going to go to counseling, or I'm going to leave them, and then I go on and live the rest of my life.
We're going to be back to get more information on this. But first, we're going to turn to Jungle Juice for the Juice of the Week.
Thank you, Ardell. Hi, I'm Regina Hunter-Coleman.
And I'm Sarita Hunter-Das. What will we be making today?
We're making the Sinharaja. The Sinharaja is a jungle in Sri Lanka, which we've dedicated to that particular jungle.
Today we'll be making a smoothie, which consists of apples, kale, and pineapple.
The nice thing about the smoothies is if you don't have the expensive juicers at home, you can make this yourself in your blender.
Right now I'm putting the base into the blender, and you can use any type of base of your choice. You can use regular water, you can use coconut water. It's pretty much up to you. Orange juice, apple juice. And so then I'm just going to take about 1/4 apple. It's best if you cut your apples up a little bit so that your blender can blend it up. And then about 1 leaf or a handful of kale. And then 1/3 cup of pineapple.
Remember, there's a lot more protein in your green leafy vegetables than a lot of the animal-based products. And the green leafy vegetables also have iron and a lot of the different things that the doctors are telling us we need. This is delicious. Come join us at Jungle Juice Bar for a Sinharaja, our juice that's dedicated to the jungles of Sri Lanka.
And don't forget, your health is your wealth.
Try the juice of the week and much more at the Jungle Juice Bar. The Jungle Juice Bar is located on Charlevoix in Grosse Pointe Park.
We're the Cronin Law Firm, bringing more to the table. When we sit down together, we share our expertise. You've got a legal problem, we know you need relief. Advice that you can trust, that's why people come to us. We're the Cronin Law Firm, bringing more to the table.
We fix hearts, we fix heads, we do eyes and ears, noses and throats. In fact, more children come to Children's Hospital than any other hospital in the state. Stop the headaches, stop the pain, fix the tummies, the ankles, the toes, and fingers.
Emergency? When it's your child, don't settle for less. Trust the pediatric ER experts at the Children's Hospital of Michigan at the DMC. The ER at Children's Hospital.
Always there, just for them.
My friends, I want to introduce you to Samasco Financial. As attorneys, they worked hard to protect clients on a legal basis, only to watch many lose their money in the unpredictable and risky stock market. Samasco Financial has recognized the need for asset protection for our seniors and has introduced investment planning that will grow your nest egg without the risk of loss. To find out more about how Samasco Financial can protect your financial future, call 586-493-9989.
Real Women, Real Issues is brought to you by Mike's Fresh Market.
Welcome back to Real Women, Real Issues. I have Scott Lewis, formerly investigative reporter from Channel 7 and Fox 2. Now his new career is a PI, and he's giving us a lot of information. I want to ask you, Scott, is this a confidential field? Do you have confidentiality with your clients?
Everything is strictly confidential by law. A lot of people don't know that, but when you come to a private investigator and give them information, it's the same as talking to your doctor or a lawyer. By law, we have to keep it confidential. If we release that information without your permission, I would lose my license. So we try to stress that with a client, because usually when they come to us, they're in some form of distress, and they're telling us things that are uncomfortable and embarrassing. So we always stress to the client, whatever you tell us is in strict confidence.
Now that leads me to another question. Are there any exams or tests, or what did you have to do to become a PI?
It was interesting, and this was part of the reason I made the switch. Michigan is the only state in the country that has a provision in the law that if you've been an investigative reporter full-time for a bona fide news organization, it's either 3 or 5 years, you can get a license. All you have to do is get references, and you have to pay to get insurance and bonding, and you get a license. So when I found that out, it was just a natural for me, because I already had the investigative skills, and I had some skills that other PIs don't have, because when you're in television, you're always under the gun. You have to do things quickly, and you don't have all the powers that a private investigator has. You don't have all the tools. So I got very adept at working my way around obstacles and getting things done quickly. I have ways of getting information that I think other PIs...
I'm sure connections you've made through the
years. And I have connections, and that comes in too. It really does, because I can open doors. People know me, and they trust me, and so I'll go someplace and I say, hey, can you help me out with some information? More often than not, I'll get it.
Now, do you have coworkers that work with you, or do you do this on your own?
I have one full-time employee, and the rest of it, I have people that I work with under contract. And everything they do, I strictly supervise.
Right.
For instance, surveillance. It's not practical for me to run a business and do all the things I have to do and do the investigations I'm working on, and then be sitting out in a car for 8 hours following somebody, because you have to have all your attention on that. So a lot of what I do is done under contract with other people, but they're the best people that you can find, because I spend a lot of time doing my homework, making sure, because I have a name and a reputation, and I don't want anybody working for me that wasn't top-notch and doing good quality work.
Do you miss TV?
Honestly, I don't. I haven't had one day when I got up in the morning and said, gee, I wish I was back in television. I think it was just a situation that I'd done it so long, and I was just getting a little worn out on it. And the game is changing. It's speeding up a lot.
Right.
They want a lot more and a lot less time from everybody. And with investigative reporting, it's real high-risk stuff, because you're putting people's reputations on the line. Sometimes I did stories that put people in jail or prison. So when you're doing things that are that high risk and the stakes are that high, I don't want to be in a position where somebody says that's got to be on Tuesday night and I'm not ready to put it on. So it was getting to be a little too much. And like I said, I've been broadcasting for 16 years. I figured this is my last shot to do what I really want to do.
Sounds like you enjoy it.
I do. I'm having a ball.
Every day is a different day?
Every day.
And how do people get in touch with you if they need your services?
They can go to my website. It's scottlewispi.com. Pretty easy to remember. And through the website, they can either call my toll-free number, that's 855-411-LEWIS, or they can go to info@scottlewispi.com, send us an email, and again, it's all confidential. And, you know, there are some things that I didn't mention that people need PIs for. If you have a situation where you think you might need a private investigator, give us a call, and we'll give you an honest answer. If we can't help you, we're not going to take your money.
Now, do you ever have happy stories at the end of your investigation?
Very often.
Good.
Yeah. We find people, we reunite people, and we get evidence that lawyers need to prove the innocence of their client, or to mitigate circumstances in a lawsuit. So people are happy. I feel like I'm, in a way, doing the same thing I did in television with my reporting. I tried to help people and make Detroit a better place. I'm doing the same thing. People come to me for help, and we give them the help. Now, the answer is not always what they want, but we give them the information, and it's always factual. And knowledge is power.
So if anyone needs you, they know where to get in touch with you. If it's good, bad. I want to thank you, Scott, for being with us. You've given us so much information.
Well, it was great to be here. Thank you for having me.
And next, we're going to have Napoleon talk about, after you found out what's going on in your relationship, how to keep it together.
Stress, depression, and severe mental illness can happen to anyone. Team Mental Health Services has been helping those struggling with these conditions in southeastern Michigan. Within 24 hours of reaching out to our team, members receive psychiatric evaluations and begin the necessary treatment for recovery.
Team is by far, from my estimation, a premier mental health service organization. We are addressing the basic needs and the mental health concerns of our consumers. We're able to provide 24-hour psychiatric care when needed.
Team Mental Health Services prides itself on going the extra mile for its members.
And it was towards the 6th court date. I finally stood up and said, I can handle this process the rest of the way. And it was all because of the motivation and encouragement I got from Team Mental Health staff.
Team Mental Health Services, because we care and you can.
The stock market can swing violently even on a simple rumor. You have worked too many years to risk your retirement savings. This is Steve Hood. If you want to reduce the risk of losing your assets, call Samasco Financial today at 586-493-9989. Their team of professionals will show you how to protect and grow the fruits of your labor without the uncertainty of the markets. Call Samasco Financial today at 586-493-9989. Your peace of mind depends on it.
Opportunity. It doesn't stare you in the face. It's not going to yell at you to come and get it. It doesn't knock. So what does opportunity look like? Not what you might think. You see, opportunity is not a right. It's definitely not equal. And it doesn't come with an instruction manual. That's because opportunity isn't found. It's molded. It's built. It's created. It's It's as much about grit as it is intellect. An explosive high-tech corridor located at the intersection of muscle and brains? You bet. Because opportunity only comes to those already in the game. What does opportunity look like? It looks like Detroit. Opportunity made in Detroit.
Welcome back to Real Women, Real Issues. Now that you found out that you may have a cheating spouse, we're going to talk to Napoleon Harrington and how we keep it together. Good morning.
Good
and
morning.
Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. Glad to be here.
First of all, I want to find out, what exactly do you do at your company?
Well, we're Ambassador Counseling and Resource Group. We're a counseling agency that's designed to help families to become better families. Okay. We deal with things related to healthy relationships, as well as helping just people find courage to find solutions for their problems.
Now, do you typically help them after a problem has come about or prior to?
There's often times where we catch them before the problem really begins, so we do some pre-work. Sometimes we catch them right in the middle of the problem, so kind of all across the spectrum.
So say we have a couple, infidelity was there, they've used the private investigator, we have concluded that that's going on,
Mm-hmm.
They come to you. What do you do?
Well, the first things first is we want to find a way to help to rebuild the trust. If they're both involved in the resolution of the matter, building trust is going to be a very key piece to that whole puzzle.
So you believe that you can rebuild trust once it's gone in a relationship?
Absolutely. Trust can be rebuilt, but both parties have to be fully invested, and forgiveness plays a huge role in that whole picture.
Is this a lengthy process?
Lengthy, more than likely, but as long as you got two willing people who love each other and willing to work towards the solution, I think they'll be able to be successful.
Now, do you find a success rate better in older people or people who've been seasoned in their marriage, or a new young couple?
That's an interesting question, too. I think that you find more success with folks who are more invested. Older couples now, I'm starting to see people who have been seasoned in marriage. Right. Sometimes the disenchantment might happen a little bit earlier than they expected to. So disenchantment, once it settles in, some people might feel like it's not worth their time. Right. Younger couples might see that they have more years down the road to invest. And so at that point, they might find it better to do so.
Is this an expensive process with you? Does insurance pay for it? Is it out of pocket?
There are some folks who have the opportunity to use insurances, and insurance does pay for it. Okay. Out-of-pocket costs for couples, it can range from $75 to $120, depending on the practice that you're working with. And we do offer a sliding scale that would help reduce the cost for families that need it.
And sometimes, I'm assuming, you come to a conclusion that a couple should not be together, that it's not going to work. And how do you deal with that?
Yeah, well, honestly, because that's important. If you see that two people are, that one may be overly invested and another may be disenchanted but pretending while they come to therapy, it's important at that point to give them the reality and let them make the decision on their own. The good thing is we don't necessarily tell people exactly what to do, but we give them all the information they need to make the decision for themselves and make it at least with courage.
And sometimes in that situation, the person who may not want the marriage or relationship to dissolve, mm-hmm. it can be very difficult for them. Mm-hmm. After you finish your process and you determine they shouldn't be together, do they continue on their own with you with counseling to sort of get things back together on their own?
Sometimes people do stick around in order to catch the falling pieces. Right. And I think it's interesting that there's a lot of folks who, once they finish the process, even if they do recover and both parties of the couple decide to stick together, right. Sometimes they do come individually in order to heal the process.
And you do see that?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Napoleon. We'll be back with more information from Napoleon, but first, we're going to get our dermatology expert, Dr. Shauna Ryder-Diggs, with our tip of the week.
We are beautiful in every single way. Yes, words can bring us down.
I'm Dr. Shauna Diggs with your skincare tip for the week. Many patients ask me, what should I do about dark spots on my face and all of the discoloration? Well, first, you need to treat what causes the discoloration. Many times it's acne or seborrhea, also known as dandruff on the face, or it can be freckles from the sun. So if you have the dark spots, there are things that we can do. First, sunscreen is very important. There are many types of sunscreens. You need something that has an SPF 15 or higher, and preferably something that blocks UVA and ultraviolet B light. In our line, we have an SPF 50 that also has antioxidants like vitamins A, C, and E, which help prevent sun damage and prevent your dark spots from getting darker. This product is actually fairly thick. For those who like a thinner product or have oily skin, we have something that's an ultra sheer, which is very, very thin. And this is the one that a lot of young people like who have that acne-prone skin. In addition to sunscreen, vitamin A creams help. Those are things like Retin-A if you want a prescription level. You can also get over-the-counter vitamin A creams, which help lightly peel or exfoliate the skin, and that's how they peel the dark spots off. They can actually also help the acne if that's what's causing your dark spots. So in our line, we have 3 levels of retinol, a 0.3%, 0.5%, and a 1% to help get that exfoliation. Next, you can use glycolic acids. So glycolic acids are fruit acids, and they come in 10, 15, or 20%. So they peel your skin. In addition to using a cream, we also can do glycolic acid peels in the office, where you come in, we leave the acid on your face for several minutes, and then it peels. And with repeat glycolic acid creams and peels in the office, you can really lighten your dark spots and improve your acne. Other products include Azelix cream, Finacea, Axone. These are all items that you can get as a prescription in our office after you're seen in a consultation. Thank you. This is your skincare tip for the week.
To learn more about Cosmetic Derm and their revolutionary skincare products and services, please visit DrShaunaDiggs.com.
Mike's Fresh Market, Detroit's largest independent supermarket with the best prices, quality, and service. Enjoy our vast selection of fresh fruits and vegetables. Wide aisles lead you to our own in-house bakery and deli. Beef, pork, chicken, seafood, and much more. You can rest assured you will feed your family the freshest food in town. Whatever you need, you can find it here at Mike's Fresh Market. Mike's Fresh Market with 2 locations, Gratiot and 7 Mile and Livernois and 7 Mile. Better food, better prices. That's Mike's promise.
ETX Closed Captioning is sponsored by the Detroit Seafood Market.
Welcome back to Real Women, Real Issues. We have Napoleon here, and we have been getting some information on counseling after you may have found out some infidelity in your relationship. But that's not all your company does, correct?
No, it's not all.
What else do you all do?
We do individual counseling for folks who are also trying to come to make some terms with decisions. So we give them the courage or encourage the courage to make positive decisions.
And also, you know, I'm single, and a lot of people are single out here, and it's becoming more difficult to find a mate. Mm-hmm. Can you give any advice or help in that field?
Absolutely. I think one of the major things is relationships are important to everybody, and I believe we all come into the world hoping to have meaningful relationships to people, period. And I think one of the first things that's important is making sure that you have a positive relationship to self, because when there's no positive relationship to self, you can't have a successful relationship with anybody else. So number one, love yourself, and love yourself enough to be able to love somebody else. So that's probably my first big tip when it comes to that.
Now, what do you find that the most common problem is with that, people finding a successful mate or someone that they can gel with?
Security. People come into life, and then they have a lot of different challenges that impact them, and it kind of shakes their foundation and their ability to feel safe. So a lot of people experience insecurities based on some of the challenges they have in life. So insecurity is what I would say is probably the biggest issue. Right. And then from there, unforgiveness from unhealed hurts, things related to also poor communication. As simple as communication might sound, that's a difficult problem for a lot of people to successfully execute.
Now, these are things that people bring into the relationship. You're speaking of that they've, through their childhood or growing up, then they take this and bring it to the relationship, which is unhealthy, and it's hard to keep it together. Now, what do you advise for people when they're in a situation like that?
Well, one of the things that I think is important is do a lot of your research in terms of yourself. Find out what you like, find out what you don't like. Pay close attention to your tolerances, because there are some people that get into relationships, they experience deal breakers that they didn't know were deal breakers. So once you know your tolerances and what you're willing to deal with and what you're not willing to deal with, that helps you gauge the relationship in a much more healthy way.
But don't you think people should also be open to adapt to different situations or different people? Because if you have too many, oh, I don't want this, I don't want that, you can't do this, you can't have that, I don't want you. what's left.
Yeah, you got to be careful about the list that you bring to the relationship, because you could also be putting on unrealistic expectations to somebody else. But it is important to have standards for yourself.
Oh, definitely.
So standards are valuable, but yes, be open to new experiences as well, because that'll help make you a more well-rounded person.
Do you find that women sometimes get away from that list, just wanting to have somebody in their life?
I'd say there's a good portion of women who have gotten to that place, but I do still see a lot of women in practice who come through the agency, and they're experiencing the more of the unrealistic list. So they've got this 15-point bullet, and then they don't get that met.
So if you have 15 bullets and the person has 11 of them, what do you say?
Make sure that those 4 that they don't have are not deal breakers.
Ah, okay. Now, do you meet with people prior to, going out trying to date, and you help them figure this 11, 12, 13 checklist out?
We do some premarital counseling. So before some folks get into marriages, we do premarital counseling. Even before that, if they're going into pre-dating, we do have some pre-dating sessions that will help them to figure out what it is that they want and what kind of tolerances they have for the relationship that they seek to have.
Now, do people listen to you when you give them advice?
As long as it sounds like I'm a source they trust, they do.
So when you tell them that after doing this premarital, pre-dating, and you find out that they're not compatible, you don't think they should, they'll listen to you?
It is true that I will tell someone if I don't think that they're ready to make a big step, I'd throw all my cautions out there as much as I could. So yeah, it is important to give people realistic information so that they can make the best decision for their lives.
And what is the typical span of someone coming to you for counseling? A month, 2 months, 3 months?
Well, that depends. There are times where some folks will come in because insurance will allow them to pay for maybe 8 sessions or something to that nature. Then there are some folks who, long term, they really have a lot of work that they want to do. My big goal is to work myself out of a situation, because I don't want people to feel addicted to counseling, because that could be another problem. So I think we kind of find out what it is that they want to do, work ourselves backwards to get to the place where they feel like they've achieved something successful.
Now, what did you have to do to get into this counseling? Are there any sort of testing you had to do, licensing?
Yeah, I took a board certifying exam for professional counseling, also did a master's degree for a master's in counseling. And so a ton of training, a ton of internship hours and practicum hours, and taking a big test. I think I'm qualified.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we're going to have a lot of couples. Maybe they'll need your help so we can keep them staying together. Thank you for joining us this week, and we'll see you next week on Real Women, Real Issues.